Hi everyone, it's Andra Net and Karen Walk from Kitchen Chats. And today we want to talk a little bit about a show that I have coming up because I want your opinion because they matter to me. You are the people that I am trying to represent out there. So things that you want to hear more of really matters to myself and Karen, who will be an
Yep.
upcoming guest.
Can't wait. Go ahead.
So I'm doing a show. It's called Healing from the Inside Out. And I really haven't spoken to Karen a lot about this. So it's for her as much as it is for you. You know, we are different people. We are that emotional person, we are that physical person, and that mental person, and that spiritual person, all combined in one. And I think that at different times of our life, some of them are out of balance, and we keep looking for that balance. But if any one of them are out of balance, it affects our overall health. So I want to do a show that really encompasses the whole human being. So I want to address areas like mental health, how it's ostracized. And I've been interviewing guests. One of them is he says he's a schizophrenic, right? And that he suffers from schizophrenia. And we know that mental health has not always been looked at so nicely. There's a lot of stigmas. So he reached out to me based on things that I was posting on mental health and how we need to bring awareness and everything. But I want people to be able to see people as not their disease, but as who they are, and realize that we are more than just one part. And he didn't ask to be schizophrenic. He didn't ask to go through any of the things he's gone through. He also admits to being a recovering drug addict, but he's gone on to publish poetry, and now he wants to help family members that are recovering from like schizophrenia, help them understand why it's important to take their medicine and stuff. So people see that diagnosed sometimes and don't really look at the person. You know, you see alcoholic or drug addict, and you see that fall down Bowery drunk, or someone that's out there robbing and killing, and you don't realize that these are just people that make some bad mistakes. They have some bad errors in judgment at times of their lives. But then there's people that get diagnosed with all kinds of diseases, and they try to make it through a healthcare system that's really lacking, and they get lost, and they're in the shuffle. They don't know how to navigate the system. And it's after COVID, people really haven't come back fully. So you're not getting that time with the doctor. I think it's like 10 or 15 minutes. I was watching something on the news or an editorial or something, that it's about 10 minutes that you actually get with that doctor. And in that time, he's doing your head to toe assessment. He's prescribing medications. So when are you actually sitting and really talking about what's going on with you? So I think that people are getting lost and things are getting overlooked. And I think it's disconcerting for some people. So I feel like a lot of people might be lost. So I want to bring attention to that too, because that does impact. We have so many people that are already experiencing health disparities. And then when something like that happens and you have 10 minutes and you're already in that zone, then forget about it. You're really getting lost, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to bring some light on disparities, but I want people to see that people are more than just those single parts, that we're connected to that spiritual. And when we're out of balance in any one of those areas, our health is affected. There's a lot more stress involved. If you're not a spiritual person, you might feel emotionally or spiritually bankrupt. And this impacts how we interact with other people. So what are your thoughts?
So you just said a whole lot, and everything was full of information and wealth. But what I was hearing from you most importantly is that we are whole, and we need to look at ourselves in a holistic way, not just, oh, maybe we have hypertension, oh, maybe we're abusing alcohol, but holistically, like mentally, physically, spiritually, being total, being well, right? And it starts with like what we're taking in, right? And then our triggers affect us, and our compliance affects us. Are we compliant with what we're supposed to do or not supposed to do, and what is keeping us from being compliant, right? So I love everything that you're talking about and what you're bringing to the community, Andra, because like you said, for many, many years, we would go to the doctor and they would just target that one symptom or that one effect. Like you have hypertension, so you're gonna take metoprolol, you're gonna take Coreg, or you need to reduce your salt and it's that. But they didn't talk about, can you get those foods that are low in salt? Like, do you have a food disparity, right? Or do you live in a what do they call it now? The zones where there's no supermarket, like you have to drive so far to go to supermarket. And then God forbid you can find Whole Foods, or you can find a food pantry that's going to give you the fruits and the vegetables, and a low salt foods. So we're just currently, after all these years, I'm not that high up in age, but I've been in the system long enough to know that it's just recent that we're talking to people as a whole, and what is triggering them, what brought them to the place where they are with a diagnosis or with these symptoms. So I love the fact that you're talking about that. And before we even started on camera, when we just saying hi to each other, you were talking about uh oh, it just left my mind. You you were talking about how even the plastic, even what we're getting our foods out of is affecting our foods, and then we're injecting it and it's affecting us. Like, hello, that makes total sense. Total sense. Like, it's not rocket science. I know we're nurses and we're supposed to be like these smartest beings, but I tell people all the time, healthcare is common sense. We just don't take our time to really think about it. And then I think about myself. I just said to myself,
But some people don't have common sense.
but we're here to help. We're here to help. Some days I'm going to tell you, I don't think I have common sense, because some days I'm like, okay, Karen, this is high in salt. Do you really need it at 43? Do you really need it? Or did you drink enough water today? So sometimes we're off our own, off on our own, all by
Agreed.
ourselves, patting the bell. Like me and my friends say.
You know what I find so ironic though? It was drilled into my head in nursing school that we treat the whole patient. Look at your patient. What do you see?
It
How
was
does she
drilled.
present? That was
Yes.
drilled into my
They
head, you
talk to
know?
us. We do assessments as soon as we see them. We're assessing. You're right.
Yeah. So so I don't, when people don't see what I see, like I don't look up a lot of times if I'm on the subway, because I start diagnosing people. I can see it in my head, because I was that child that was a people watcher. So I'm very in tune with people and body, with how they carry themselves and what's really going on with them already before the nursing in my career. So it's bizarre to me, but you said, it's common sense, but I remember one time, and I say this all the time. There's people tell me they're a nurse. Like, someone was asking me for help with holistic health, and I said, but you have a holistic page. So I don't understand, if you're a holistic person, why you're asking me for help with this, like why you want to join my page, right? So I said, do you need help? Are you just getting started? So she said, well, I'm a nurse too. Like I should accept her, accept her into the page. I said, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, what is your interest in joining my page? Because she was asking me like a lot of bizarre questions. It put up some feelers to me. She said, well, I'm a nurse too. I said, well, then that there are different kinds of nurses. There are A nurses and there are C nurses, and some have common sense and some do not. I remember being on a unit and we were running low on oxygen, and we had a stat on the unit, and there was one person that had oxygen that was available on that unit that didn't really require it. It was something that she used every day, and I went to take it, and the nurse said to me, you can't take her oxygen. I said, she's breathing, she's not, who gets it? Are you like it was so obvious to me, but she just looked at me like, oh, okay. But it's order of importance, and people don't think of that. And when you think of the person, the order of importance really is that whole person. So if you're mentally off balance, like if you have mental or emotional issues, like if you're feeling spiritually broke, it's going to affect you in all areas of your life if you're missing that key element. If you don't have good connections and relationships, you're going to be broke in that area. So we need to look at like what they're not complying with. If there's someone can stay home and say, I don't have any friends. Well, are you out there trying to meet people? Or are you home and staying in that world? So we have to address all these different things. And a lot of times people, they don't see it as important, like self-care and things like that, like very basic stuff you would
Right.
think that people should be more in tune with, but they're not. And they're so used to doing things for other people and forgetting that most important person, because if you don't
Mhm.
take care of yourself, that's it.
Period. No one's
That's
taking care
it.
of you. If you don't prioritize yourself, you can't expect someone else to prioritize you. And I think what you said is so important when it comes to just thinking about your whole body. And I believe as human beings, as adults, because I have 2 kids and one of my children is going through puberty. So I want to say we have a lot going on. I believe people need reminders. That's why I love your platform. We need to be reminded to take care of ourselves. We need to be reminded to prioritize ourselves, reminded not to eat that such high salt foods, reminded that if you go to the doctor, you got to leave the doctor. You have to advocate for yourself because the doctor doesn't have time to look at your whole body. I went to the doctor last week to schedule my colonoscopy because I'm at that age to get the colonoscopy. And it was literally like a 10-minute visit. He ran through what a colonoscopy was. He made sure that he told me, you're a nurse, so you know most of this. But I was like, tell me what's gonna go on with the colonoscopy, but he didn't necessarily have the time. He literally told me that he was burnt out. He literally told me since COVID, he has not taken a break, that all his colleagues have left the field. So I said, because I said to him, why did I have to wait a month to speak to you for 10 minutes to schedule the colonoscopy that I know I need? He was like, I'm so sorry, Karen, but and he went into the whole of how there's a shortage, how by 2025 we'll be short millions of nurses, and how AI is going to take over. It's just like, what? And that's me, and I'm a professional in the field. Can you imagine like a lay person? They would have been totally overwhelmed and just probably never would have returned to the
I
visit.
know,
You
I
get it?
know.
You're needed. All that to say is you are necessary, you are needed, and that's why I love your platform, because we need reminders. We need help. We need support.
I was telling Karen before we went on that I have somebody doing marketing for me, and I was telling her what I wanted to do. Like every month I have like a strategy for what I want to talk about. You can't just, because I want to cover topics that are important to me. So um plastic month is coming up. July is plastic month, plastic free July, right? So and I have to know these things because these things are important to me. But environments, not just your physical people, but everything around you, plays a big role in your health. So when I was explaining that to her, she said to me, you're going to confuse people because you're the gut health expert and you can't talk about environment. I said, but it has to. She goes, oh, it affects health in a general way, not really your gut. And I was like, what? Like, how do you even see that? So I said, well, I really shouldn't have to spoon feed you, my information, but I'm going to give it to you because if you're doing this, you should have some basic knowledge, or get on Google and check out what I just said. You know what I mean? Do something. But it has everything to do with it. Even drinking plastic water out of plastic bottles. This is dangerous for you, especially if this sits in the heat. You
Done.
know,
Right.
because
Hmm.
all those carcinogens are getting into it. So it's not advisable. I used to have all plastic containers in my house and I replaced them with glass. Not only does my stuff stay fresher, I mean, I still have one or two, if I'm being honest, but it does impact us. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but it does impact us, and then I was talking about because I'm a gut health expert, but I'm also that human body specialist because that's been my life. So um I know how the whole body connects. So I also help people with thyroid and autoimmune because those are things that I suffered with and have been able to overcome and figure out just by connecting it back to my gut health. And
Hmm.
weight loss was part of that scenario too. So she said, well, that just doesn't make sense. People aren't going to connect it. I said, but that's why I'm here, to show them the connection. Just do what I
How about
say,
that?
God damn it. You
And I
know,
know.
who's teaching who? So I said, how am I supposed to teach them if nobody's like open to learn? But it is all connected, weight loss, inflammation, thyroid. Like inflammation is a big part of impacts weight loss. So if you have gut health issues, you have inflammation issues, and vice versa. And that does play a big impact on trying to lose weight, because your hormones are all affected. So, but people don't look at the connection. They look at the one thing they're trying to work on, because they're not seeing that body as the unit it's meant to function as, So just like, if you pull a hair out of your head, it'll grow back. But if you pull an eyeball out, not the same, So you have to see how things are really related in different parts of your body. But your gut health is really connected to everything. It goes from mouth to anus for a reason. Runs through everything. So that's what I'm thinking for the show. But I also have a special guest, someone that I'm crazy about. I love her to death. She inspires me every day, and she hasn't really told her story. And I approached her and I said, I really want to hear your story. You're so inspiring, and I think that so many people can really learn from your experience. So she's agreed. But I'm trying to get a variety of people. There's a woman I love, Sean Bevins. She's a physical therapist. She's an occupational therapist. I believe she teaches yoga, and because she does a lot of activities. I was in her exercise excuse group, and she just wrote a new book. So I reached out to her and I said, I'd love to help you advertise that book. I'd love to have you on the show. um she had something like 180,000 people in her group. And that's not easy to achieve. And she's been out here for a long time. She's a woman, I don't know if she's a little older or a little younger than me, but she teaches a lot of the same concepts I do, that there's no magic pill. You know what I mean? So I want to address that, because there's so many people out there, like the Optiva. um, it's not that I'm against their program, but teaching people to buy packaged meals until they get to a place and then you're going to wheel them off, it's simpler. You're doing an end runs around the middle. Just
Mm,
teach them how to eat.
how to do it. Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? So, I mean, teach a person to fish
Right.
and they don't go hungry. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I think that people are getting away from that. And I think we really need that education. I don't think,
Well, those
I
are quick.
think that
Nothing is quick, right? Like everything takes retraining, mental retraining, physical retraining. So when you get in these meals sent to you, it's a quick fix. Then you eventually going to need to learn how to do it yourself, like you said. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
no, but like you were talking about these AI and things like that. And I think that's a reality. They have a lot of these AI programs out now that are taking the place of people. I still write, all my content comes from me, comes out of my head. You know what I mean? People can't speak to what I do better than I do. So that's why I don't let a lot of people do my content. Like even the marketing girl, I gave her my plan. This is my marketing strategy. This is what I want to do. No, you can't use that crazy picture of me. So she gives something to me and I'm like, nope, can't have it. So um
Right.
like she was doing a picture and it had corn on it. And I said, that's not me. I would never post a picture of corn. It has no nutritional value. Yes, it does have vitamins, but it's not absorbed. So if it's not absorbed by the body, then you're not getting any of those nutrients. So it's that it goes right through your body, honey. No absorption is taking place. And if your body can't break it down, it's no good. And you hear a lot of people talking about sensitivities, and that most people are sensitive to eggs and soy and all this stuff. Nobody should be eating those. They're all fillers. It's whether you have an insensitivity or not. Maybe you haven't developed one yet, but they're fillers. even the gluten, like we had discussed before in the past, they say if you don't have an intolerance that you don't need to stay away from it. That's horseshit because it's a filler and it's processed. So if we're staying away from processed foods, that means foods that are being labeled as healthy that aren't either. And so you have to be able to determine good and bad to make that informed decision. And it's coming to a place where, like you said, nurses are going to be very short. Lucky for them, they still have us. but um but there's not going to be a lot of places where people can really get that information, or there won't be, the doctors won't have that time to spend. So we have a lot more people online, but you have to judge the quality of the information you're getting and don't take it to heart. Even me, even Karen, when we say something, do your research. I'm not saying, oh, I'm a nurse, you should take me to 100%. I'm saying do your research. I can give you information, Karen can give you information, Joe Schmo and Larry Bailey or whatever, but you have to be an educated consumer. You have to advocate for yourself and see if it applies. Some people can take zinc, some people can't. It's the same thing. What works for, and by that I mean what works for one doesn't work for everybody. So, and diets are the same. You have a lot of people out there selling the Whole30, the keto. What works for one person doesn't work for another. Now, as a nutritionist, if someone wanted to do keto, rather than send them off, I'm not fond of keto. It's a high fat diet, but rather than send them off in harm's way, I would show them how to do it healthy, because it's about me giving them a lifestyle they can stick with, not what's right for Andra. So if that's what they want, that's what you have to do, but you have to do it for them in a healthy way. But it's about educating them so they know why it's not a healthy choice. And then the decision at the end of the day is up to them. So I don't go to anybody's home and say, oh, you shouldn't be eating that and you should be eating that. And if somebody came to my home and told me my picture was hanging crooked, I would tell them, well, don't look at it. So, you know, but
yeah, definitely advocate for yourself, do your own research, study it out, because you're most important to you. So I question a doctor, I ask him, many questions, whether I'm in the field or not, because things can change and I could just not know, so you need to be educated because you want to live your best and healthiest life.
yeah. And there's so many different areas of nursing and medicine. Like we had discussed before, that doctors are not educated in nutrition, which just astounds me. That dentists are more educated in autoimmune diseases than most doctors. Like they know that if you have one, they have another. So a physiatrist covers the whole body, so he has a more of a holistic approach than a general practitioner does. He understands how the body works fully. So he would be a good fit to go and really get all those answers. But every doctor is different too, so you have to ask those questions, and you have to sit there until you get those answers. Tell them, no, I'm sorry you got a 3 o'clock waiting, but your 2 o'clock is still here because you haven't answered those questions. So you do have to be a little pushy sometimes. It used to drive me crazy that my mother would go to the doctor and come home more confused than when she left, and then ask me a million questions. And I would say, you just left the doctor. Didn't you ask him any of these things?
Right.
Understands a word he said. And a lot of doctors do talk in that medical jargon and don't really speak to us like fourth graders, and they should, because not everybody has that educational level, and they need to speak to somebody at a level that they can understand. So that's the problem with healthcare as well.
Definitely.
So any ideas for my show, girl?
Other than having me on, I think you should definitely have like someone who, like you said, like the physiologist. If we can find a physiologist on, because he'll definitely be able to back you up and say like, no, Andre's absolutely right. Because like we just said, they want to do their research. They want to hear from different people. So you want to, find those other disciplines that's going to come and have your back and to say, yes, this is what's going on, and to give different examples that they have seen in their practice as well. I think that would be great also. And then people can always type their comments, right? They'll be able to type comments and questions and you can answer.
It's like a podcast that streams live. I
Oh,
tried to Kerry Glassman is someone I'm very fond of. She's a dietitian. Jean Petrucci, who I love, is also a dietitian. So
great.
so I want them to hear nutrition from some, and both of these ladies,
I need
Jean,
them definitely along with you.
well, Jean is more of a cook. Like she does this whole thing, living plate with healthy meals. So um I want people to hear somebody else's opinion, not just mine, because it's not about me. It's about people getting quality information. And
Right. Right.
we're different people. So we could have been in the same class together and absorbed totally different knowledge. So I want them to hear their take and their knowledge and why it is. And Carrie Glassman, I just love. Like she she knows nutrition and the way I know nursing. It's her first love. She has that love like I have for nursing. So, and when she talks, you could see that it breams off of her. And those are the people that I want to explain those important points so that people have a set off point where they can get started, So I'm looking for mental health professionals, people. I think since COVID, especially in children in the younger population, they feel like a lot of kids are suffering from anxiety because they were in closed quarters. But I think that was because of the confinement, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe there were some underlying anxiety issues or stress issues, but they were also confined, and some of them weren't in good family environments before COVID. So that
Mm-hmm.
could be a precipitating factor.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they're over diagnosing these kids now with mental health. So there's two ends of the spectrum. First, they don't want to say they have a problem, and then they're over medicating,
Now
and
everybody.
a
Mm-hmm.
lot of those medications have so many side effects. You and I know, with the tardive dyskinesia and the eye splashing and stuff, and that's why a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people don't stay compliant with those medications. So I want someone to address that,
Right.
and
Yeah, that'd be
I,
great.
yeah. So I want to talk about things that people aren't really talking about so we can get them out there and make them easier for people to talk about, like grief and trauma. That's very difficult on families and how to move through that grief,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
know?
definitely. I think a lot of people are in situations and they stay stuck in them because, like you said, they don't know how to get through the grieving process, because it is a process, right? We have, what is it, 7 steps of denial, then acceptance. I used to know that like back
Anger, yes.
anger, and all the process. Some people get stuck in that denial or they get stuck in anger, and you have to learn and be taught and helped to get through it, to get to the other side, to the acceptance, and where you're able to manage it, and still live a productive life. And I said this many times on your show, and I'm gonna say it again. If you're not mentally well, it's hard to be physically well, because it does take good mental health in order for you to really take action towards getting better physically. If I'm feeling down, I'm down. Like I'm eating whatever I want. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not exercising. I'm not drinking. I'm just doing whatever I want. So I believe targeting the whole body, like you said, including mental health, is necessary.
I think mental health is a big part of it. And I think that so many people, so many of us, because of the culture we grew up in, where we were told, oh, you'll never amount to nothing, or you can't do that. That's not a real career, or money doesn't grow on trees. That we're stuck in that hustle culture, and and people trying to do better, but not fully believing they deserve better because they've been told for so long. So
That's a
I'm
point.
hoping this show helps them move out of that. And because these are just my beliefs, and I'm not trying to put my beliefs on everybody, on anybody else, but every day I go live, like I go on Facebook and I post, that something of a positive affirmation. And it's as much for me as it is for everybody else. It's what I need to feel that day. And this morning it was that everything I need or want is already out there. All I have to do is call it. So I'm from that world that believes that we knew what we were coming into. We were asked to take an assignment before we got here, and on the way down, we forgot. And all those things that we need to fulfill our destiny are already here, out here, and all we have to do is call it into existence, because it's there to help us and guide us. So, and a lot of us don't believe in that spiritual sense that we are one with God. And because they don't believe in that, there's some self disbelief. Because if you can't believe in something greater than yourself, then what do you think about yourself? If you don't think there's something better calling to you or for you, then why are we here, right? So
it's the believing that you deserve the best part for me from everything that you said. Like, you do deserve the best. Some people truly don't believe that, and that saddens me. So that part really stands out to me. Is like, you have to believe that you deserve the best. You don't deserve to be in a position where you're not happy. How about that? Everyone deserves to be happy, and you should have the desire to reach that happiness, the goal to get to that point. So it saddens me when I see people like that, and I talk to people like that, and I do try to inspire them as much as I can. But it is something that is internal. You do need to believe it, like you said, for yourself. And no one can love you more than yourself. So we're here to tell you
get
to love yourself.
busy.
I know. Love yourself. Believe that you deserve the best, and let's get to it. We can help you. We can help you get there.
All right, I'm gonna close this show because Karen was at work and I interrupted her for this regularly scheduled process.
And
She got stuck at work late, and I got out, I got out early today. But so I would love your opinions. What are some things that you're struggling with in healthcare, or things that you think people don't talk about enough? I mean, some things are beat to death, out there. They're talking about things, but they're irrelevant. It's like spending a lot of time on something that's not going to get you any further. So what would help you in this society? What would make this community better for you? That's what I want to bring to you, and Karen wants to bring to you. That's what we're trying to do here. And the show is going to be like an offset of this. I'm trying to talk her into being my co-host. She doesn't know it yet. So, so I want to thank you. I want to thank you for listening to us, and for showing up here. It means a lot to Karen and I. We've been getting a lot of views, and that means a lot. So it's nice to know we're reaching you and that we're helping in some way. So this has been Andra and Karen from Kitchen Chats. Did you want to say anything special, sweetie, before we leave?
One of my favorite scriptures is that God has plans to prosper me. So I want everyone to believe that God has plans to prosper you, not to harm you. You don't necessarily have to believe in Jesus that I do, but I want you to believe in yourself and that you deserve the absolute best out of this one life we have.
Absolutely. And if you're having a rough day, understand this. He hasn't carried you this far to drop you on your ass now. So believe. Okay. Have a good one. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, won't shut up.